the Ousburn Valley had been a real centre of heavy industry in Newcastle, and when we arrived, I mean, there was almost nothing of it left. I mean, it was at the end of a long, slow decline of about 30 years.
This hill behind is where my grandfather had his scrapyard, and Saturday mornings I'd come down here, he'd say, "David, come out." We'd get on a shunter, take scrap down to St. Peter's Basin. A lot of kids used to play with railway sets. I used to play with a real shunter. When you're a kid, you never spot the fact that places are deprived. And I always just used to think of it as a place where it looked like everyone was very busy, the scrapyard making a huge amount of noise. Everything in this area was industrial. So you never imagined it would be residential. It's a big shock.
Here was a group of sites that were post-industrial, empty warehouses, buildings that had been demolished. And yet the topography of the place, there was some specialness about it, so close to the city centre as well.
Our original brief was to put 70 homes onto this empty site, and I think the assumption was that we would build a block of flats.
It emerged quite forcefully that there was only really one thing to do here, which was to open up all the views to the river and to create this series of karate chop of fingers.
Everyone gets a little view of the river, as opposed to the people on the front getting all the views of the river and the people behind getting nothing.
From that model onwards, people really got that we were trying to do something that was particular to the place. And that meant that English Heritage became incredibly supportive of what we were trying to do. A phrase that was used at the time was, "This is the kind of development that the Valley has been holding out for."
The Ousburn's an interesting part of the city. It's sort of been developed really by the community there. What the Malings has done is really taken that interesting part of the city and made it a good place to live.
The Tyneside flat typology, which is traditional in Newcastle as a way of a family taking a house but then letting out the top half, was something that we picked up on because they were always these two doors next to each other within one house form.
We've got the first two floors with the living room, the kitchen downstairs and our bedrooms upstairs, and our neighbours, it's the reverse, so they've got their bedrooms above ours and then the living room and the kitchen on top of theirs, so we don't have any problems with noise.
We've been asked to get about 70 homes. In fact, doing it this way, we ended up with 76. I think if we had built just a straightforward block of flats, we might not have got so many.
People living in cities today, the cost of housing is extraordinary. You pay these huge mortgages. Then, on top of that, you've got to take another 10% of your household income and give it away as management charges. This scheme gets rid of that. It says you pay for your home, you don't pay us for lifts, you don't pay us for concierges. You know, I can see this in Plymouth, I can see it in Southampton, I can see this in places like Ipswich, even Sunderland. Wherever you're getting lower values, this is a way of getting apartment density without the costs.
We also created some other typologies, so we've got the 3 tower houses in the scheme.
Nobody would ever think they would go into a 6-storey house, I don't think. There's I call it the top shelf, but that's the roof terrace. So if you want to get away from everybody, you don't actually have to be in anybody's space. You can go into the bedrooms, downstairs into the lounge, you've got the kitchen area. This area is used all the time. We've got 2 terraces on either side, so you can sit at one side, the other side we've got the garden at the back, and the kids absolutely loved it. Perfect for teenagers.
One of the great things, of working with Ash Sakula in this area is it is a creative industries area, and they absolutely get the vibe, and the people around here get Canny and Robert.
We were interested in trying to create a sense of community here, so we deliberately built in things like communal refuse and recycling areas, communal allotments, communal bicycle stores, and I think it is helping to create a sense in which people are building a community.
That's one of the things that I really wanted, to come out of my front door, meet people that I know and be able to chat to them, because I've never really had that opportunity. But it works really well here. When the weather's sunny, people sit out on the decks and everybody gets a coffee and gets together, or we do communal things, we have parties and stuff, so it's working really well.
The layout of it just invites people to come and chat in their garden, so whenever I'm watering the plants I always see all of the neighbours actually. It's just a lovely, lovely feeling.
We were fortunate, my son and I created a microbrewery shortly after we moved in here, just across the back, literally 2 minutes walk. So it's good to find something like that supports small business right on our doorstep.
My God, who else has a brewery on your doorstep that you can just ring and somebody will bring you beer? So pleased how I met him. He's a good man to know.
We've had to take a long-term view, we've had to work in partnership and find the right developer to make that scheme work. And I think it works in both design terms, it works from a community point of view, but it also gives the public sector a return on the risk that we've taken in building in what could have been seen to be quite a difficult part of the city to sell houses in. And I'm proud of what we've done there.
I could definitely see myself here for a long time, and even having kids here, I think it's a brilliant place.
I don't think they'll ever build anything as different other than in this area. Nowhere in Newcastle. Certainly not somewhere that you can walk into town, go for a coffee, go for a drink, and not have to get a taxi home. Perfect.